from Fox 5 New York, U.S.-Canada illegal border crossings surge. And those migrants are heading to New York City. And why wouldn't they? Right? Where they're going to get put up in a hotel and they're going to get free food that they eventually throw away. And then they're going to get debit cards because they were throwing away the food. They were committing heinous crimes, all on the taxpayer dime, right? Why wouldn't they go to New York City? So they were showing up at the southern border and somehow getting bussed from Texas and Arizona and California to New York and Chicago and Washington, D.C., causing absolute chaos, which is affecting literally everybody. They're saying, well, maybe it's getting a little bit too tough down there, so let's just go around. But my name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm absolutely begging you.
I'm begging you, please. Come on, please.
It would help me a lot and it would cost you nothing. But if you wanted to help me even more and spend some money, you would buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued, on Amazon.com. That link will be in the description.
Well, when we talk about the migrant crisis, a lot of that focus is on the southern border. But there is an alternative doorway for those in search of the American.
Okay, yes, there is a migrant crisis. I'm not going to dispute that at all. But it's obviously caused by the political regime. So it's really a crisis of crooked, corrupt, disgusting politicians allowing this quote-unquote migrant crisis to happen, which of course is not really a migrant issue. It is criminal illegals, right? And we miss the days. I've said it millions of times before, but we miss the days of a regular illegal immigrant who wanted to hop over the border and work for a landscaping company or in a kitchen, you know, a little Mexican the size of a mini fridge. Those days are gone. Now there are 23-year-old Venezuelan migrants giving people the finger. And women swinging briefcases at me. That's what we have now. But don't worry, they were coming through the southern border. Now they're coming from the northern border.
American dream, and it is just a few hours drive from New York City.
That's right. Fox 5 Stephanie Bertini and photojournalist Lenny Torres traveled upstate to the northern border where they found out that there is a surge of migrants crossing through Canada.
Under the cover of darkness, people emerging from a vehicle after it pulls up to a gas station in Plattsburgh, a city in Clinton County, New York. It's located more than 300 miles from New York City and less than 30 miles from the Canadian border.
Hi, sir. Where are you coming from? I'm a journalist. Where are you coming from?
And look, obviously somebody is involved in human smuggling here. Could it be the president? Could it be borders are? I mean, not the borders are. Kamala Harris.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
What the hell is going on here?
You came from Canada?
My questions met with silence.
Tell us where you're coming from.
Yeah. Oh, they don't want to tell you? They're in the middle of the night under the cover of darkness, and they don't want to mention it. I wonder why.
Reluctance.
Ma'am, where are you coming from? Can you tell me?
And refusal.
No, you don't want to talk?
They start walking away, and we follow them.
Sir, can we talk to you? Can you tell me where you're coming from? I'm a journalist. We're doing a story on people crossing the border.
We are coming from India.
Can you show me the documents?
No, ma'am.
The letterhead identifies the document at a glance. It's from the federal government, the kind of document given to asylum seekers.
What did they say to you?
After crossing the border illegally.
At the border, what did they say?
Nothing.
You crossed the border, the Canadian border?
Yes.
How long did it take to walk across the border?
Ma'am, this is the main person is this.
Okay, one more question. Are you
It's perfect, right? I mean, this guy speaks perfect English. He's going to assimilate. He is, I'm sure, a big brain that's going to start an amazing business in the United States.
going to New York City?
Yeah.
And that's how we finally confirmed where at least one of them is going. The gas station is called Mountain Mart. It's also a bus stop here in upstate New York, and we've confirmed well known around here as a meeting place for migrants after crossing the northern border. About 20 miles from here and closer to Canada, the town of Champlain, where town supervisor Thomas Tremblay regularly deals with complaints from people about migrants on their property.
To me, it's like a back door.
A back door into the United States, he says. While our eyes look at the flow of people crossing the southern border, here locals will tell you an alternate route into the U.S. through Canada is becoming more popular for people who are desperate to get into the country.
And look, okay, it goes without saying, but we are constantly told how terrible, well, the Democratic elite, it's not even about, like, it's about, I mean, it's good and evil at this point, but these weirdo regime machine politicians are constantly telling us how terrible everything is, which I guess is true, and they're working on that. But why do people want to show up here illegally, arguably making the country worse? But if it's so bad, why do they want to come here? We constantly hear that argument, but we haven't heard an answer.
We've seen 4, 6, or 8 individuals walking down one of our town roads or village streets.
It's a regular thing.
It's become a regular thing, yes.
I got them on my cameras all the time, going through the woods.
These images from Joe Ashland's deer camera.
They're not shy, they just walk down the street.
He says migrants end up around his home all the time.
You gotta lock everything. Years ago, you never locked any doors around here, but now you do.
Have you ever had to place a call to Border Patrol?
Oh, plenty of times.
People around here tell us placing calls to Border Patrol is a regular thing.
Across the road from my house, they come over the hill, the Canada.
And what is Border Patrol going to do? I guess they're going to give them a ride to the bus station?
It was only a 10-minute walk.
Alan Racine lives right by the northern border.
It was a family. There was 5 of them. There was a husband and wife, a teenager, and 2 little ones. And I talked to them. I couldn't understand the word they said. So I asked them if they needed a bottle of water. It was really hot out. I said, need water or something? And all I seen was a little girl go like this.
Yeah.
She was hungry.
He works in the town of Champlain as a highway superintendent.
Water's right over here.
And took us on a drive.
And walk right across.
We went through a cemetery where he says you can often find evidence of people moving through.
Normally when you come down here, sometimes you see clothes. Down here on the cement here, change their clothes.
Stretching more than 5,500 miles long, the northern border is the longest land border in the world, more than twice as long as the southern border. Here, there are no walls, fences, or major barriers. There is a
Maybe we should put one there.
lot of open land.
Walking through grass and surrounded by tall trees, there are many places for migrants to hide, and that's how many of them are navigating the northern border undetected.
In a statement to Fox 5 News, a spokesperson for U.S. Customs and Border Protection said, "We have seen an increase by USBP in apprehensions of individuals unlawfully crossing the northern border. We looked at the data and found a sharp increase in the number of encounters Border Patrol is having with people illegally crossing from Canada. This fiscal year so far, as of June, 16,459 and counting. The number already exceeding last fiscal year with a total of 10,021 encounters. In 2022, Border Patrol agents apprehended just over 2,000 people crossing the northern border illegally, and in 2021, the number was only 916. And while the numbers of those crossing from the north illegally pale in comparison to what's happening at the southern border, with Border Patrol coming into contact with more than 1 million crossing illegally this fiscal year so far, and more than 2 million on record last year and the year before, we've learned there is deep concern about the influx.
The numbers are surging because it is easy.
Around here, law enforcement regularly assists Border Patrol.
With the border as it is, the Border Patrol is just flat out understaffed on the northern border. They have...
And I think we should hear far more stories of the deportations, right? Bo Jiden and Karine Jean-Pierre and even Kamala Harris pretend like, oh, I'm the border czar and we're going to fix this problem. Obviously, they're not going to fix it. They created the problem. They want the problem. It works in their favor. But we should be hearing more stories. Every now and then you hear like, well, there's been more deportations under Bo Jiden than Donald Trump. That's because there's been exponentially more illegal crossings, right? So the numbers are so astronomical that even the people that are stone cold criminals, that even those corrupt, crooked politicians won't let into the country is more, right? The numbers are just so huge. But my point is, we just don't hear enough about people who show up illegally, get found, and get kicked out. They get a little piece of paper, and they say, oh, you should go to a court hearing in 2032 or whatever. We need to hear more stories about people getting kicked out, but we're obviously not going to do that. Now, maybe there's somebody who says he's going to do like a large deportation operation or something like that.
On my first day back in the White House, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration, stop the invasion on our southern border, and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
We shall see.
Long stretches of border that they just don't have enough people to cover.
Major Nicholas Leon is a chief deputy with the Clinton County Sheriff's Office.
There's been a large influx of people, and probably through organized crime it's making money off it, and
oh yeah, organized crime. So these I don't know what's going on at the northern border. Like I know, look, I don't want to get too deep into it, but there's organized crime all over the place, and you could make the argument that the political regime is heavily involved in that, and they might, conspiracy allegedly, I don't know, just taking a guess, also have a hand in the drug trade. Think about San Francisco. Think about California. They love, we're going to do clean needle exchange. I mean, safe injection sites in New York too. Why would they do that unless they are benefiting, right? So you can cut backdoor deals on needles and safe injection sites and all that stuff. And the people are going to continue. They're getting everything except for the drug itself. And if by some slim chance they want to get off the dope, then they can sell them Narcan, which the government is also going to cut backdoor deals on. So it's an absolute mess, to put it nicely.
Funneling these people through this particular area, because out of the entire northern border, it's the easiest through metropolitan areas in Canada where they can fly into, and it's easiest to cross the border with a huge pipeline directly down to New York City.
You find a lot of them are headed to New York City?
Yes. Yeah.
We've learned there is coordination between U.S. and Canadian officials. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police confirming to Fox 5 News human smugglers are selling the journey south to migrants.
We know that there are human smuggling operations going on. We have active investigations on the matter. We've also arrested and charged a few smugglers recently. But the reality is that just by the sheer volume of migrants, this is a highly sophisticated operation that we're talking about.
The pattern.
It's so sophisticated that they just can't wrap their heads around it. Yeah, we know it's happening, but it's so sophisticated we can't really do anything about it.
And all too familiar. The federal government has long documented human smugglers working at the southern border, exploiting migrants who are willing to do almost anything to get to America. U.S. Customs and Border Protection on record with information like this. Transnational criminal organizations pose significant dangers to migrants as they not only seek to profit from their exploitation, but also have little regard for their well-being, exposing them to violent encounters, injury, and death. Here in upstate New York, the dangers of crossing the border are apparent.
The terrain's pretty rugged. It's cedar. It's thick.
Ugh, look at this weirdo Planned Parenthood ad on Fox 5 New York. This is disgusting. Every single thing is despicable.
Swampy. And they got to go through that.
I personally have worked on an investigation of a migrant coming through in the winter. She ended up getting in a high water area, ended up drowning.
But not enough to deter the growing flow of migrants who are after that American dream.
They just want to go to New York City.
The American dream? Of what, getting free stuff from Eric Adams? Like, what, you want to sell churros in the subway? What are you talking about? You guys are the ones killing the American dream. Well, you're some of the ones killing the American dream.
For many, New York City is where they believe they'll find it, regardless of the risk and the price.
Bro, regardless of the risk and the price, okay, think again, bro. You're going to pay $2,500, which, I mean, you got to have a rectal exam. You got to have tax returns. You got to have proof of employment. You got to have bank statements to get an apartment, which I'm almost certain these people do not have. So what, you want to live in a shelter? What planet are these people on?
How are you feeling right now?
I don't know.
Are you happy?
Yeah, happy.
You're happy?
Oh yeah. What are you gonna do? You're gonna sell curry in the subway? So we got. Oh my word! How could you make it this far through life? These are grown. These are adults pretending that they're just gonna show up in the most expensive state in the country and just make ends meet. So even if you had the money, which I'm almost certain they don't, you don't have the paperwork. So how does this happen? An American-born citizen, and in New York, by the way, you have to make 40 times the rent, right? And that may have gone up or down since I've left New York, but you have to make an astronomical amount of money to live in a 1-bedroom on the first floor with a view of a barbed wire fence. It's a little bit too personal. Moving on.
What an incredible story, Stephanie. First of all, I mean, you look at those numbers and they spell out a crisis. I want to go to the beginning of the story. So the man that we saw, he was holding a document from the federal government. So does that mean that he was in contact with Border Patrol?
So we can assume so. Here's what we know and what we've been reporting on extensively. We've been hearing again and again, asylum seekers coming to New York City. So that journey across...
There's no such thing as asylum seekers. That just didn't exist, right? In 2020, we didn't hear all about the asylum seekers, but now when the floodgates are wide open, they all just want asylum, aka free stuff. Well, free for them.
Across the border, if you're not entering at an official crossing point, like we saw in the story, it's an illegal journey across the border. We talk about it all the time at the southern border, in this case, across the northern border. Once you're here, you can request asylum. Now, that's in one situation. Now, we reached out to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, of course, as
they're obviously taking advantage of that asylum system. Oh, I'm going to show up there illegally and then tell them that, oh, I was fleeing gang violence. What the hell are you fleeing? We don't hear those stories either. And then they're going to drop an anchor baby, right? They're going to get pregnant, and they're going to get pregnant a couple months before they hopefully get to the United States, then drop an anchor baby. Boom, problem solved.
As you can imagine, they're not going to talk about an individual case. But what they're basically telling us is there's a bed space issue in detention. So what we can inference here is you come across, if they don't think you're here for criminal reasons, they're going to process you, and then they're going to...
You showed up here as a criminal.
Let you go, and that's what we've seen with our own eyes. And really, guys, that's what we've been seeing here in New York City. Here's the thing. Immigration court, it's backed up years. We know. They got to appear at ICE, they got to go to court, but they have to make that decision to go. And of course, in the end, if they're granted asylum or not, I mean, they'll find that out in years. But right now, if you cross the border in this way and they think you're just here as a migrant, you're going to come in.
Stephanie, the numbers concerning it all went from 916 to over 16,000 in 4 years.
Let me talk to you a bit about these numbers. I got them here in my hand because I've been looking at them daily. Look, the data is not updated, as you can imagine. It's a federal database. It's not updated in real time. And so we're looking at what's on record. Of course, as we point out in the story, this is not like what's happening at the southern border, but the surge is huge. And when we're looking at this, I worked at the southern border for years, and we've heard officials say again and again, they keep saying it, this is just a reference point. If this is what's on record, there's more coming through. There's more people coming through.
Absolutely. Like I always say with San Francisco Mayor London Breed, who paid $23,000 in ethics violation fines. That's what she admitted to. So she's not obviously, but likely done so much more. And they want you to believe that these people are, they're just coming, they're migrants, they're asylum seekers, and they're not here for any criminal purposes, even though the first thing they did was criminal. And now I guess they're still at the point where, I mean, Eric Adams and the entire New York City administration has been struggling to, they've been telling New Yorkers like, the migrants aren't getting everything, even though you gave all the illegals the Christmas turkeys. Look, it goes through the roof. But as they were being inundated with migrants from the southern border, they now have migrants from the northern border who appear to be like Indian or something.
So the numbers show the increase for sure, but we really don't know how many people are crossing that Canadian border.
Wow, certainly eye-opening.
Yeah, you obviously have no idea.